Hey guys, I'm just going to warm the wrists up. So if you're going to join in, obviously warm your wrists up as well. Normal deal, stick any questions or comments down as we go. If you're watching it, watching the recording, I will check the comments afterwards and answer what I can. So just doing a general wrist prep, I'm going to start off with some crow variations, some transitions, teaching or shifting more weight into the upper back and shoulders. Big believer of doing lots of that before you handstand as part of your warm-up and just part of your practice as well, just trying to get the hands and the shoulders taking over the balance. So just general wrist prep on there, and then I'm going to do a shoulder opening on the, I'm going to use the canes just because I've got them here, but you could use a wooden box or a chair or something. I'm just going to place the hands on there, and then hips directly on top of the knees. And the big one, try and keep your toes pushed into the floor. A lot of people, when they do this, will lift their feet off the floor, and that will tend to arch the low back. So in that position, hands shoulder width apart, and then I'm going to tuck the towel under. So I'm going to go to a slight posterior tilt, and then I'm going to take chest towards the floor. So making sure that I'm not flexing through the wrists or bending the elbows, just pushing the shoulders and the chest down towards the floor, trying to keep that tail tucked under. So I'm not arching the low back, so keeping the posterior tilt there, and then just pushing down so I can feel the shoulders working. You could do like the butcher block lat tri stretch as well. Instead of this one, I prefer this one. Some people prefer that lat tri stretch. I find this one gets into my upper back shoulders nicely. And then I'm just going to warm up just the standard frog stand crow position. Hope we are all well, those of you who are on live. So I'm just going to go into a crow position. So elbows into the crease of the knee, or not the crease, the dimple in the knee there on the side. And then just going to slowly take the head down. With this one, don't jump into the position. Really feel the point where your toes start to go lighter and lighter. And then lift the toes up. If you find you can't do that yet, just get to the point where your tippy toe is very light on the floor. And then lift up from there without trying to change much. And get comfortable with taking the head down, the hips up. So using that seesaw type mechanism to go between the position. So just a little bit of that, have a play around with that position. Hi, how are you? How can I avoid falling over my feet? So I take it you mean falling over onto your feet when you do a handstand. So basically you just need to increase the window of balance. So most people, when they first start handstanding, they're on a knife edge. So they're trying to get up onto their handstand, they try and get up onto there and they fall off. So they either fall back to their feet or they fall over onto their back, just because their window they're trying to catch in is tiny. So what we need to do is create a bigger balance window, and then when you kick up or jump up into handstands, you'll be in somewhere in there. So I can kick up to here and I haven't fallen down because I've done a lot of strength work in the underbalance. So there I kicked into underbalance. So my window there is very big. So doing the heel pulls, the toe pulls, the wall drills, making that window bigger and bigger. Then when you kick into handstands, you'll be able to, you should be able to go there more often and not fall over so much. But obviously that takes time, and it will get better and better as you do more reps and sets. Okay, now from the down dog position. So I'm just opening the shoulders, pushing back. Now, if your hamstrings don't allow you to do this too well, you could bend a knee, or you could keep the knees bent slightly and just open the upper back. But I'd use it as a hamstring stretch as well. And then from that position, I'm going to lean forwards, round the shoulders. Then I'm going to bend the elbows, take the knees to the elbows, then back into that crow frog position. Lift the toes up, and then go back, do exactly the same thing in reverse. So you can see how that's opening up and strengthening that upper back. I'm getting lots of blood in there ready for the handstands. Supercharging the up and back and the shoulder area. I have no idea where Stalder comes from. But it's a really good point, actually. I'm not sure whether that's something to do with straddle press in a different language, or Stalder straddle. I'm not sure. We should research that and find out. So if anyone else comes on and knows where Stalder comes from, that'd be really good to know. Yeah, she's always, Rose is always in my handstands videos. Sometimes gets in the way, but she's right underneath me. Same as the kids. Like, it does allow you, it does make sure that if you've got a dog around, or if you've got small kids around that as well, it does make you have to go up and down, out, in and out of your handstands with a lot more control, obviously, because you don't want to squish the dog. So notice this position now. So I'm going to go into the down dog. I'm going to take the shoulders forwards, bend the elbows a bit more. Now, when I get to this stage here, so I've got a bend in my elbows, I'm just going to lift one leg, take one leg forwards and put it onto the elbow. And then this other leg should be able to go up in the air. If I'm positioned enough where I have enough weight up and forwards into the upper arms and upper back, that second leg should feel very light. So if you see it from the side, I bend the elbows as I come forwards around the upper back, take one leg forwards, find the elbow, keep going down until this toe becomes very light, and then I just lift the leg up. So what a lot of people do when they lift up the single leg for that type of position is they'll throw the leg backwards, or they'll pull it in and take it very far forwards. What we don't want to do there is have a limb that goes fast in either of those two directions, because it really alters the balance. So if I take the leg backwards, it throws me back. If I take the leg forwards, it brings my energy forwards. So if you're going to do that single leg variation, just lift the leg up a little bit, come back down again. One option there is, from that position, is to take one leg in and then bring it into the other side, take the other leg out and go back down again. And then you can alternate legs and play around with that. But obviously the prerequisite is to do the one we done just before that, is where we went on to both legs up into position. Okay, let's get into handstand now. So I'm just going to do some walking up onto the wall into chest wall position. So I recommend everyone does this. Obviously, if you're a bit more advanced, you would have done repetitions of this already. But the chest to wall position, more of that hollow position with the body instead of an arch position when you kick up, is really good for your conditioning work. So when we're going to do longer holds, we'll just get the body ready in the body line position. So I can step up. If you're newer to this, just hold in that position and lift this leg up and stay there. So you have a lot of space to come in and out of your handstand. So I can walk up to the wall, go back to there. You want to feel strong. So I'm pushing, I'm not collapsing through the shoulders. I'm pushing up towards the ceiling. There. Come back down again, feel control. If that feels okay, exactly the same thing. We'll just walk a little bit closer to the wall, wherever you feel comfortable. So I'm still staying with a little bit more, my body line is a little bit more hollow body. I'm not arching. So I'm not like this against the wall. I'm off the wall. So only toes. And I'm very positive. I'm not negative, so collapsing towards the wall. And then I'm just going to walk back down, come back out again. So I recommend everyone does that in some way. Obviously, just stay at your level, stay up as long as you can in that position. You just want to be a little bit more like that. So if the wall is there, so there's the floor, there's the wall. We want to feel like we're in that position. So notice the body's one piece when I'm there, and not in, where's my red pen? I don't have my red pen. The kids have pinched my pants. Hey, how are you? So we don't want to be in that position. So we want to be more in that, especially if we're going to do longer holds, in that positive position. So like that. If you don't feel like you can do the chest or handstands yet and hold there for any time, you could do the hollow body, like these line drills, positions here, either with the head on the floor or off the floor. So just getting that curve that way and not arching the back there. If that's too hard, bend the knees, keep the low back onto the floor, and just spend time there. but getting up to the wall in that chest to wall position as quickly as possible. And do the real thing. Don't do too many other drills. Try and get to actually do the handstand. Which one is harder, press to handstand or frog stand to handstand? It depends on your strength and flexibility. So someone who's very flexible will be able to go to handstand from press easier, just because their hip can be very high. So you might get someone who, let's see if I can get this camera back a bit. So you might get someone who can press the handstand. Doesn't have to be over a dog, but your hip's very high. If your hip's on top of your hands, I can just go up to handstand there. So someone who's flexible will do that one. Someone who's a bit stronger, a bit more comfortable in a bent arm position, maybe not so flexible, then frog stand there up to handstand is probably going to be easier for that person. I had a frog stand up to handstand before I had a press handstand, but I come from a strength background. I'm not so flexible, so that one was easier for me. I've been doing one arm wall holds for time. Today, tried diamond lean to one side, but it's so much different. Yeah, it's really hard to do one arm handstand against the wall and get it good. It's really tricky. I actually don't do any one arm holds or don't give it to my clients using the wall. Some people do and get great results. I'm not a big fan of doing it because it doesn't teach you the rotation, and it's really, really hard to get into a good position. A lot of people who do their one arm conditioning against the wall are holding in faulty positions. Not necessarily wrong, but not positions that mimic the one arm handstand position. And then doing stuff like diamond and that would be really tricky against the wall. I'd do it as play and conditioning work on top of the one arm drills, but I would definitely do my main one arm drills for balance away from the wall. Okay, toe pulls and heel pulls should be practiced 10 reps every day. I would do whatever you do in a handstand practice. If you're not freestanding for like 30 seconds plus, I would be doing some heel pulls and toe pulls every day. 10 reps is a good goal to get to, and especially just use that as like your warm up. So doing heel pulls and toe pulls. So basically it's just strengthening either side or warming up either side of the handstand, because you might go into your handstand practice cold. You might be like this in terms of your window of balance. You do your 10 heel pulls and 10 toe pulls, and suddenly your window of balance has grown that much. So that's a really good way of increasing the window of balance. And then when you kick up or go into your normal practice, yeah, you've strengthened that already. Hey, Alex, how are you? Hope you're well, buddy. Okay, let's have a little play now with going up into handstand. So what I want to focus on today is, especially because we've done that crow warm-up, if you've only just come on, I played with doing transitions from down dog to crow, down dog to single leg crow, swapping legs, things like that. Basically, I want to think about today going up into handstand. So not necessarily going forwards or backwards or in any other direction. We want to concentrate on all our energy going straight up into the handstand. So if like an example of that would be for me to crow up, so I could do that, and then I'll go straight into the handstand. So you can notice there, if I don't quite make it, I haven't fallen down because I'm going, the energy pathway is straight up and down through my balance of my window of balance. If I go over with that energy, I'm going to obviously fall onto my back. If I go too far under balance, I'm going to fall back to the feet. So constantly having that control and energy, so it's in the middle channel, will help for your entries and your exits and your consistency. Now, you don't have to have a crow to handstand or press to handstand. You could jump up through that or even kick to it. So think about, though, your more bunched here, and then you're going up into handstand like that, as opposed to, say, a gymnast who would go like this and then come forwards into handstand, so their energy is going in that direction. We want to try and get as much of your energy to go up on the way into the handstand, and when you exit, back down again. So we can practice that against the wall. So I can be close to the wall here, but when I go into my kick up, I'm just going to kick up to handstand. So all the energy is going up into the position. So it can be done with a jump, a kick, a press, a crow to handstand, lots of different versions, but the energy needs to be going up, not down. And then to clarify again, most important thing for balancing your handstand is having that. Imagine you have this channel. Yeah. So that would be under balance. So falling back to the feet. That would be over balance. And then when we kick to handstand, ideally our handstand position is going to be somewhere in there. Now obviously that's what everyone is aiming for, is this position. So when you're in a handstand like that, you have this nice straight line. But what that allows for is you can move, you can be in a faulty position, well, not a faulty position, but not a straight line, either way, doesn't matter what it is, and you don't fall out of the handstand. So the idea of jumping straight into handstands, so I was just demoing there with the kick ups and the jump ups, is that basically you're going up inside this channel. So the stronger you make this window of balance, the bigger it is, the more chance of you have of catching the handstand, controlling the handstand, because you're staying in that position. Now, when we do things like press handstand or more so handstand push-ups, we change this window of balance, but it leans over a little bit. So your pathway might be at an angle when you go into a shoulder stand. So another good one is the shoulder stand position. That was the question there. Should I practice the shoulder stand daily? I would definitely do that a lot, because the shoulder stand is a really good way of supercharging the shoulders again and getting used to that position. But also you can spend a lot of time in a shoulder stand like you can in a forearm stand, because it's easier to balance. But that window of balance changes angle. So under balance and over balance. So think now, how do we, once we're up into the handstand, so we think about going up into the position, so through that channel, staying in my window of balance, and then I can flirt with that by going towards under balance, and I can flirt with it by going towards over balance. So my feet are going over towards the whiteboard there. So I'm challenging that window, and I'm trying to push the boundaries of that. Now I can do it in a freestanding handstand like I just done there, or if you're learning, we have the toe pull and the heel pull. So under balance is your toe pull drill to make that bigger and bigger. And then over balance is your heel pull drill to make that bigger and bigger. So heel pull drill is once we're up. How do I control the over balance? So it's when I'm leaning on the wall too much, if I wasn't on the wall, I'd fall on my back. Then I'm going to push with my fingers and watch my feet. My feet come off the wall because I'm pushing with my fingers. Relax the fingers, get back again. So that's the heel pull. Make that stronger and stronger. Makes that this from the midline to there bigger. And then the toe pull is that way around. So I use the shoulders or the hips, but ideally the shoulders, to pull myself off the wall towards the handstand from under balance. So that strengthens the under balance, falling back to the feet. And that's where we kick up to most of the time, is our under balanced handstand. So there's loads of layers and information there, but that should get everyone to a freestanding handstand and beyond. And I'm out of breath now, too much talking. Because my control is amazing. So I have good control in those positions because teaching handstands now all the time, I'm constantly demoing those heel pulls and toe pulls, and basically that principle of handstand balance. Every time I practice it and time I demo it, I'm doing more and more repetitions of that, and I get better and better at controlling that. I've always struggled with going up and often fall back. Yeah. Yeah, it's all about weight distribution, definitely. Yeah. So if you have weight sticking out either side of your overbalance or underbalance, and just remember, so say that's my window of balance, so this distance apart, the beginner's window of balance is going to be tiny. That's a terrible picture. Let me change that. So the beginners, let's do a. So when you're first starting, say that's my window of balance, the beginner will be like that. So they have this tiny window to land in. So they're trying to, the beginner needs to get inside that window to hold a handstand. Anything outside of that, they're going to fall over. So that's why it's much easier for me to hold a handstand, because I've made that much wider than it is for the beginner. And then the beginner normally has challenges with strength, with conditioning, with mobility as well. So that's why it's really, really hard when you first start, especially as an adult. Now I've lost track of what I was going to do now. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, so with this is for 2-arm handstands. So that's for 2-arm handstands, not 1-arm handstands. Because a 1-arm handstand doesn't just have forwards and backwards. If I stand on my feet, I can go forwards or backwards. As soon as I go on a 1-arm handstand, I can rotate. So now I have 360 degrees circle of balance that I have to deal with. So looking down from the top, you're trying to put a handstand in the middle there, but you could fall in any of these directions. So 2-arm handstand is super hard. A 1-arm handstand is super hard, because there's thousands and thousands of times harder because of the different variations you can go. The thing that makes it achievable is that you have a strong 2-arm handstand first, and then you layer on top the 1-arm handstand. How much you bringing your chest in when you handstand? So in terms of chest position and rib position, so you often hear people talk about their ribs. So you can really see that if someone's laying on the floor in like a bodyline position. So if I'm, well, get my saddle out of the way. So if I'm in this position, this body line, you'll see a lot of people will do this in the handstand. See how my ribs or my chest is out of position. So these bottom ribs will stick up in the air. Now your ribs and your shoulder are the same thing. So if I close the shoulder, the ribs close. If I open the shoulder, the ribs move at the same time. So you can't move your ribs without your shoulder. So that or that. So I don't actually think about doing this type of thing. So tucking in or out with the ribs. I don't think about opening, closing the shoulders. I don't think of anterior, posterior tilt in a handstand. What I want to think about is one thing, and that's making the body lengthen. So if you think of it when you're on your feet, if I'm in a bad posture on my feet, so if I'm like this and I want to get into a taller position, if I think about, so my goal is to be a straight line, to have good posture. If I think about bringing my head back, tucking my pelvis under or moving my pelvis around, and opening and closing the chest or the ribs, then it turns into a dance when I'm standing. If I think about reaching up, so reaching up towards the ceiling, then I just get into a better position. So exactly the same with the handstand, with the chest position, the rib position, the pelvic position. So if I'm in a banana handstand, or a position that I'm not fond of and I want to make it better, if I just think reach towards the ceiling with the toes and push the floor away, notice how the position just gets tidy. If I'm like this and I think about moving back and forth to correct things, then one, you'll probably fall out of the handstand, and two, you just turn into a dance with too many moving parts. So thinking about lengthening as best you can for your body will be the best way to do it. Yeah, so when you do gymnastics, so last live session I done last week, we went through all the different entries to handstand, and I went through gymnastic entries and other entries in towards handstand. And there is a big difference between a hand balancer and a gymnast, or someone doing capoeira, or someone doing breakdancing, because the capoeira, the gymnastics, the breakdancing is more about movement and less about a static position, where the hand balancer thinks more about static positions. So that's where they're going up into the handstand makes sense. If I go up into handstand on my canes or the box, I want to go up into the position and hold there with control over the base of support. But when the gymnast is thinking about using the momentum to go forwards and backwards. So it's not wrong. It's hard to train both at the same time. So there's a lot of good things about the gymnastic handstand and how it's used into the other elements, and that will definitely help with lots of things. But it will be tricky to work your static handstand like a hand balancer does and a gymnast at the same time. It'll just be challenging. Yeah, but like gymnastics is fantastic. I wish I'd done more when I was a child, and I'd probably, but saying that, you speak to most gymnasts, they don't train gymnastics as an adult. Most of them give up at an age and then they stop doing it. So maybe I shouldn't have done gymnastics as a child, and I would still be doing handstands now. Like I would not still be doing it. I would be in the position I am now, and I'm doing handstands as an adult and not as a child. There's not that many gymnasts that carry on. Yuval on hands is probably the only one that I know who's like a top level hand balancer now, who done gymnastics at a high level. Okay, so now thinking about going up into the handstand with the heel pulls and the toe pulls. So what we want to think about is, as we pull from the wall in the underbalance or the overbalance, so the toe pull or the heel pull, when we go into it, we want to go up into handstand as we pull away. The same as if I kick into handstand. So if I kick into handstand, I want to be going up into handstand. See that reach up that I do there as I come up into it? So I kick up, reach into handstand. So the energy goes straight up. The heel pull and the toe pull are exactly the same. So if I'm pulling away from the wall, as I come away from the wall, I reach up into handstand. So because the energy that I'm pulling away from the wall will take me that direction. So it takes me in that direction. We don't want to go in that direction. We want just enough to come off the wall, and then we want to go up. The same as the toe pull and the other way around. As we pull from the wall, you should see the feet go higher into a handstand. So I'll do it further away so it exaggerates it, especially the angle the camera is. So I'll come off the wall, and now I push up into handstand on top of the base of support, so on top of the hands. So that's that same principle of going up into handstand, whether it's heel pull, toe pull, kick up, jump, press. So how do you get your feet? I think I answered that. Is that why you deleted the message? But that is a real common one, is how feeling that drag from that chest to wall position. A lot of people will use their hips. So if this is the hips and this is the shoulders, a lot of people will use their hips, which flicks the legs off the wall. Shoulders and hips should ideally work together, and the shoulder leads the movement, because you want the shoulder to be the controller. That wants to be the base, and that's doing the control of the movement. Like we do when we're on our feet, our knees and our hips control the handstand, the standing position. And when we're in a handstand, our shoulders control the handstand. Just do a little bit, maybe a couple of strength movements. Anybody want any questions on presses or handstand push-ups or planche type movements? Or because I always like in a practice, I always like to do some balance work. So what we've just done with that window of balance, the entries and things, and then some sort of strength work. Now it doesn't have to be full on handstand push-ups or full presses if you're not there yet. It should be something relative to your level. A handstand push-up type movement could be like a down dog. So you're in like a pike push-up position. So if you're in like this position, down dog, coming forwards and taking the shoulders down and back again, you could do something like that. If you're thinking more about press, you could be doing the press walks. So this type of thing. That's really good. You can go forwards, you can go backwards. So this would all count as like mobility, strength type things. Straddle ups are really good. So in a standing straddle position and then leaning forward, taking your hands to the floor, ideally coming all the way down to the floor and then standing back up again. So that would be your straddle up. If you can't do that off the floor, you do exactly the same but use a box. So all of these you can do at any level. You just have to work out you can do it with inside your ability at the moment, whether it's flexibility or strength or conditioning or balance. So there's the same thing. So there's the straddle up. But I'm coming off something, both with the hands and the butt. Great exercise. Is there something else I can help? Was that Siri off? A great exercise to condition the hips for mobility. For press handstand, if you think of that open and closing that has to happen when you go into a press handstand. So when I'm there, from this position, the hips closed. Here I have to open the hip. Most people think when the toes come off the floor, you have to compress stronger, so you have to close. You don't, you open. Same as a deadlift, as the bar comes off the floor, I have to open the hip. I don't close the hip anymore towards compression. The press handstand is just like an upside down deadlift. Any advice on balance on powerlets? Yeah, so powerlets is, you just have to get used to it. You can do exactly the same drills on powerlets as you do on the floor. Same as if you use blocks. I put a video up yesterday on my Instagram. Actually, I put it on my YouTube as well. Balancing on the single bar, P-bar. So there yesterday. So that's using that movement. So I'm open and closing here a little bit. The video is actually really good to demonstrate that because it takes me about 15 seconds to get into a straight handstand on top of the bar. So as I go into the handstand on the bar, you can see my shoulders are forwards here, but my feet are here, and then I slowly get on top. And then once I'm on top and I'm still, the only thing that's happening is this little movement towards overbalance and underbalance in the wrist. Very similar on powerlets. So these are powerlets if you haven't used them before. So I'm going to do, see that movement I'm doing there? So that's controlling my balance forward and back. So in and outside of that window, but I'm using my wrist to do the movement. So that's happening. Now that's on a very fine level. The bigger movement is still going to happen at the shoulder. So if I kick up on powerlets, you'll be able to see my shoulders forwards. So I'm still using my shoulders there. Now if I straighten the handstand and do a smaller movement, now the movement is happening at the wrists and the forearms. You can probably see that happening. If I start to fall this way, I'm going to go more into underbalance and use the shoulder angle still to help me. But the fine movement is being done at the wrist. But it's exactly the same as on the floor. The fine movement is done at the wrist. You can pull yourself around a little bit more on P-bars though. So that does change the percentages of how you balance, but the principle is the same. But I would tend to always go into those positions, especially on powerlets and more so on higher P-bars. So if I'm on these yellow P-bars higher up, I would tend to use underbalance a lot more, going up with the shoulders forwards and the feet backwards. Yeah, higher is definitely scarier, but it's the same as like handstanding on the blocks or the canes. So being up onto the canes, up on that sort of height. It's learning to turn the body and come back down again. So yeah, just keeping the hands in place. So a lot of people, when they balance a normal handstand and even on the low power lets, they'll lift their hand off to rebalance and turn out of the handstand. Where when you're on the higher, balancing on something higher. So if I'm balancing on something like this, I'll be up in handstand. I've got to watch the ceiling here. But when I come off, see my hands stay. This one might lift if I twist enough, but my hands stay in position. So it's like turning the body and coming down with the feet first, as opposed to stepping off or cartwheeling with the hands like you do on the floor. But whenever you're doing any elevated work, just find smaller increments first. Don't go from the floor up to a high box, obviously. Yeah, overbalance is that. So when you twist and turn out. So a good way of practicing it, actually you can do it on the P-bars. So if I fall towards overbalance, it's going to be a slow, see me. I'm going to try and get my GoPro set up as a webcam. So trying to do up the garage slowly and set the cameras up better so you get a wider angle. So if I purposely fall towards overbalance, so most people, if they're low to the floor, they'll do that. So see, I turn the hand. If you're on high P-bars, you can't do that. So you'd have to turn out and keep the hands in place, more like that. And obviously this hand just needs to release when it's safe to do so, once you're falling with your feet down. But the big thing is just get used to it. A good one is to handstand on a box, one of these wooden boxes like this, because you can start that way around, and then you can go up onto the in the middle height, and then the high height. So you've got the 3 different heights on that one box. So that's pretty good. Okay, guys, there's 10 of you online. Anyone else got any questions before we finish? I think that's everything I wanted to go through today. It was mainly that going up into position. But if anyone else has anything they want me to go through, will learning press to handstand help me to get bigger window of balance? Yes, definitely. So I'm a big believer that everyone obviously learning their 2-arm handstand should concentrate on the balance first with the chest wall handstand, heel pulls and toe pulls. But at the same time, I would definitely be doing things towards press handstand and handstand push-up. So strengthening the straight arm strength and the bent arm strength. So a good example of that is if I'm here in my start my press handstand, I can take my shoulders forwards, and then my feet come off, and I'm controlling the underbalance there. So I'm making that window of balance bigger by taking the shoulders forwards and lifting the feet off, which lifts the feet there, and I'm controlling that in my underbalance. So you're not probably going to be able to get your feet off the floor to start with, but you can start hanging out, creating time under tension in that position without balancing it. So I can hang out over here and get the toes light and just hang there and go back again. And that's slowly conditioning me to build some strength or some condition in this area, where up till then it would be scary. So it would definitely start to strengthen and build a bigger window of balance. And also just try and press handstand when you're doing the other stuff. It will increase flexibility and mobility massively. So most people are lacking some flexibility. I recommend, so the stretching I'd recommend people are doing, they're doing stuff for their quads, hip flexors. So your normal opening up the front of the body. So that type of stuff, hip flexor, quad, that type of thing. I'm sure you all know those already. They're the basic stretches for a quad. Hip flexor, hamstring, given you want to have good hamstring flexibility for handstands, single leg, double leg, forward fold type stuff. Thoracic mobility, massive one, hanging every day, foam rollers, jumping on there. And then, what else was I going to say? And then straddle, hips. So glutes, big one that I ignored for a long time, and my hips are still tight, especially on my right side. Stopped me doing tucks for a long time. So twisted hip, pigeon position, that type of thing. So flexibility through there. And then next in line would be straddle position. So getting comfortable in this position. So when I started at 37 years old, I was looking like this in this position. I couldn't lean forwards. So I had to slowly open that up more and more. It took a couple of years to get sort of chest to floor position there. But like cold now, I'm trying to stretch this today, get chin to floor pretty comfortably. And it took me about 30 seconds to a minute to get flat there. So that's a really useful stretch that's going to help your handstand entries, help you to go up through that window of balance when you go into the handstand much better. The cleaner and deeper you can get into a forward fold and a straddle position, because then when I'm passing through for presses and entries, I can jump through there into my handstand pretty comfortably. Yeah, I would do your press handstand work, but also mainly do the heel pulls and toe pulls drill up against the wall. That will help you balance the handstand in the quickest way, I think. Obviously, everyone's different. That's the one that's used the most commonly across the world for training handstands, is the heel pulls and toe pulls to create that bigger window of balance. But it's the same as anything. You guys have got to find out the exercises and the drills that you enjoy doing, because they're the ones that you're going to consistently do. And that's how you get a handstand, is by consistency. Because I could give you a program that has the best exercises in the world, but if you don't enjoy doing them and you don't do them, that's not going to take you towards your goal. If I give you a program that has 50% of the exercises that are amazing but you don't like, and 50% of the ones you really like but maybe not the best ones for you, you're probably going to do the ones that you really like. And that might be a longer path if you've done both of them, but it will actually mean you get the handstand, where some people will just give up because they're doing stuff they don't like. So find your path, find your exercises. Heel pulls and toe pulls. So that's how you come on and off the wall. So what that means, so heel pull and toe pull means how you pull from the wall. So it's training on either side of the handstand. So I went through that earlier in the video. So basically that's this channel, this balance window of your handstand, making that as wide as possible. Heel pulls control over balance in the handstand. Toe pulls control under balance. Heel pull drill is this. My heels are against the wall, and then I use my fingertips to pull my heels off into handstand. Relax the fingers, go back again. So that's the heel pull drill. The toe pull drill is exactly the same, but toes are on the wall. So now I pull off the wall using my shoulders and my hips. So this way, and then I can go up into handstand. I can go back using the shoulders, and that's the toe pull. So if I become an expert at both the toe pull and the heel pull, that's how I get my freestanding handstand. Okay, guys, we're at 45 minutes. I'm going to switch off now unless there's any other questions. I'll stay on for 30 seconds more to see if there's any other questions. So the goal is to get this garage into a much better, cleaner place to make better quality videos. Beautiful. If you can do a heel pull with a 20-second hold, then toe pulls is your next level to get a consistent freestanding hold, because the toe pull is going to give you the balance window for your handstands. So in terms of your kick up. So that's perfect time in that question as well. What is better, toe or heel pull? So watch this when I do a kick up. So I'm going to kick up to a under balance position, which is the toe pull. So my shoulders are forwards. Look, I haven't kicked all the way up, but I've still caught the handstand because I've got this toe pull strength. If I start to fall back down again, I can catch here then I can take myself back into handstand. So as long as I kick up somewhere in this window, I'm always going to catch the handstand, and it's going to create lots and lots of consistency. The issue with the heel pull is that's basically balancing like this. There's very little room to move. So most people's heel pull range is going to be much smaller than their toe pull, but most people don't train their toe pull because it's scary, because it's chest to wall. They don't spend enough time there. So their window of balance is basically their heel pull, because that's what they practice, and then it ends up with a very small window of balance. So if we can train the toe pull more, it should give you a more consistent handstand, a bigger catch, and a longer hold. So I would spend, especially once you can do both, I would spend more time on the toe pulls and getting better at them, because anyone who has a very strong toe pull will have a very strong handstand. And normally if I get someone come into class, or I get a new client come on, and I assess where they're at, if they've got around the, say 10 to 20 second handstand, but they can't get over that, and their kick ups are like 5 out of 10 in terms of consistency, then if I assess their toe pull normally needs work. So if someone has a 60-second plus handstand and they can kick up 10 out of 10 times, normally their toe pull is perfect. So toe pull is normally the one that fills all the gaps, and anyone who has it normally has a very good handstand. So anything else before I sign off and get some breakfast? No, well, like I say, I'll check the comments on here if there's any more comments come on, or you can message me direct. Check out the website if you would like any coaching in any way. I've got a link in the description as well if anyone wants to contribute to the new gym area where I'm going to create all the content. The idea is to do 2 of these live sessions a week at least. And I'm going to create a much better gym space, put some equipment and things in here as well. So I've got a link in the description to that. Any other questions? Message me. You can get me on DM on Instagram is probably the easiest way. Just if I don't respond, it's because I get a lot of junk in there as well. Just reach out again. Okay, have a great day, guys. I will speak to you soon. Yeah, awesome. I love getting updates. Feel free to send me any videos so I can see where you're at with things. And I do want to do one of these at some point. I'm going to ask for people to send videos in, and then I will critique people's videos on live, and hopefully they'll be on live as well, so we can have a chat about what people have got going on. Because you really learn a lot from watching each other's progressions. It's easy for me to demo stuff if I can already do them, but if someone working on similar skills really helps. Okay, thanks guys. I'm going to sign off. Enjoy your days.